Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome you to a magnificent affair. Episode 28 of the Prime Podcast. I am your host, Coast. That is your other host, Facts. And we are here to tell you to go fuck yourself. Thank you very much.
Peace.
Hello, everybody.
What's going on, Coast?
Only large coffees today. You know how I roll.
Nice. Did you go around? Did you go around to see the very pretty white girl that you like in Dunkin' Donuts?
No, I didn't go to Dunkin' Donuts. I went to the Starbucks because my little baby daughter wants a cake pop, and she requested by name.
We don't do Starbucks over here.
Oh,
No
why not?
Starbucks. We don't do Starbucks. We are, first of all, Starbucks is very expensive and bougie
Yeah.
for what they're actually. And then why is it that I have to learn a whole new language just to order coffee?
You don't. But this is the thing now. I'm holding up this beverage I have here in this
Yes.
silly looking cup with a cap.
Right.
This is the pumpkin cream cold brew. And this is my favorite drink of the season. It's not a pumpkin spice, it's a pumpkin cream. And it's delicious.
So
and they
what's
don't
the
have
difference?
this at
What's the
Dunkin'.
difference? What is the difference?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But I like it. It's not like when you get the pumpkin spice joint, it's like really sweet. And I don't like the sweet because I got the sugars.
Right.
So what the fuck was that?
I'm very surprised that you have the sugars.
Really? I don't think anybody watching is.
Why would they not be surprised that you have the sugars?
Because I'm quite overweight.
No, you're the picture of health. You're like what everyone should aspire to be when it comes on their health food journey.
It's really sort of pathetic when you look at me. I'm just about just 20 pounds of bloat. Once that goes away, I'm pretty much normal weight.
Right.
But I just walk around 20, 25 pounds of bloat. It's fucking pathetic that I can't fucking batten down the hatches and fucking pull something, pull something off.
Why don't you being the fact that you're Italian is what I'm about to say is kind of like a really hard feat for you to do. Why don't
Are
you
you going
stay
to be
away from
racist right now?
No. Why don't you kind of like stay away from the carbs? See, like if you're black or Italian, staying away from carbs is like, it's like the cornerstone of our diets, man. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you know what it is. I think it, and I've thought this several 100,000 times now, and it's because I'm too smart. That's why.
Okay.
My brain is like, why are you fucking with this bullshit? You're just gonna be fat one day again anyway,
Right.
or dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, that's it.
But here's the thing: could you realistically cut out all bread and all like pasta, rice, potatoes out of your diet? Could you?
Yeah, maybe if I didn't just take on a bread baking fucking hobby, and and if I stopped being Italian on Sunday.
But that's what I'm saying. Could you see yourself if you really applied yourself? Could you see yourself doing that?
No, that's the point. I mean, I've done it in the past. I don't know if you've ever known me when I was in really good shape, but when I was in my early 20s, I had muscles, I had a six-pack, and I worked for UPS loading trucks. And this is the only reason why I was in good shape is because everybody that works at UPS loading trucks at the time worked part-time. And you worked 4-hour shifts loading the big trucks that go state to state. So my truck, I was always loading Hialeah, Florida. I'll never forget. But it's 3 hours in a fucking box truck. I don't care what time of the year it was. That truck was at least 85 to 90 degrees on a fucking cool day. Right. In the summertime, fucking forget about it. 100 plus degrees inside that truck. Right. And I would just, for 3 or 4 hours straight, I would just be playing a giant game of Tetris, sweating my balls off with boxes. Right. And I got down to like 180 pounds, and I was lighter, so I was doing fucking chin-ups and pull-ups and push-ups and sit-ups and fucking every fucking piece of pussy that came across my fucking lap. So I was active, and I would eat. I was kind of broke too at the time because I made like shit money. When I think about what I made when I worked there,
Mhm.
like a full week of working, even though it was part time, I would come home with a check for under $200. If you think about the ridiculousness of what I just said. So I would eat like tuna in
Mhm.
cans. I would just stock up on tuna and bags of salad with tuna on it. And once you start losing weight and you get that
Hold on.
momentum,
There's levels to tuna.
yeah, I was doing the bottom level where you don't put any mayo, nothing. You just empty the can of tuna on top
No,
of
no,
the
no. But what
salad.
I mean by the levels are there's chunk light, chunk white, and then there's solid white albacore. You
All
see what
right.
I'm
Well,
saying?
it was the solid white albacore chicken of the
Well,
sea in
then,
water.
but what I'm just saying is, if you're able to afford solid white, that means that you're doing better than you expected. Because that's like,
Yeah, but
the,
that should go on sale. It was usually on sale for like $1.25 a
but
can.
still,
You had to buy 10.
listen. Chunk light is basically cat food. You can feed that to the cat. You know what I mean? I don't even think that that's fit for human consumption. Now, chunk white is like the mid level. You know, you're stepping your game up a little bit. But when you get to the solid white, you're talking about
Yeah.
like you talking about restaurant deli quality. That's what they're scooping out of that big vat of tuna salad when you order it. You know what I mean?
That's right, but I would treat myself to the $1.25 can, and it was 10 for 10. I'll never forget, so that's why I bought it.
Right.
But yeah, back then I was in good shape and I was keeping up with that fucking the cardio regimen because I had no fucking choice. I had to. It was
Okay.
that's 3 or 4 hours of fucking cardio a night, and who does that? You can't be fat and do that. I would
Mm.
sometimes body a box of pasta, and it would do nothing. I would just blow it out my ass the same night. My metabolism was so fucking rocking back then. Now it's like I probably could go like a month without eating. Lower your headphones because I hear me coming back through the mic.
What do you mean? How so?
I just hear myself talking coming through your
Oh,
headphones.
okay.
But yeah, that's what it is. As you get older and my sedentary lifestyle, I have the baby, my back's all fucked up. I can barely
Mm,
do anything. Like
right.
it just stops you in your tracks, and that's what happens. You just become a big fat fuck. Which,
Well,
not quite there yet, but I'm getting there.
yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
just keep trying.
No, I have to fucking. Nobody wants to hear me talk about losing weight anymore, bro, because it's a broken record. So, anyway, what's going on in the world? It's a happy place. Everyone's enjoying each other's company, and we're all getting along swimmingly.
Well, the crazy part about what's going on in the world is it continues to be a complete rerun. It's like just more and more and more and more. And it's funny because you know the more you see that's happening, like obviously in the last couple of weeks is the whole thing in Kenosha with Wisconsin, with
Yeah,
the uh, black man Jacob Blake was shot in his back 7 times by Kenosha, Wisconsin police, which sparked a whole bunch of demonstrations and unrest, civil unrest, which led to a 17-year-old, uh, 17-year-old uh, white kid with an AR-15 style rifle, assault rifle, to shoot 3 people and kill 2 of them. They
yeah,
they were protesters, and the crazy part about it is that he walked right past the police, walking
yeah. No, that's
openly with a
this is the thing about. I keep seeing people make this point. Wisconsin is an open carry state. Okay,
right.
so if you obtain a firearm legally, you
Hmm.
can walk down the block with the firearm
But
open carrying it.
no,
The
no,
thing
no.
about it is, you're
The-
right. He walked right past the cops,
right, but
and
the
people are yelling, "He shot the guy," and he
the
didn't get shot.
right the you're absolutely right about the open carry situation and everything else like that. From the
But
standpoint of a black person, right? If that was a 17-year-old black kid, you know, dressed hip hop style, dreads in his hair and everything else, walking with an AR-15 style rifle. Do you think that the cops would have walked right past this kid, drove right past him? Open carry
Under
state
the
of night.
under the
Oh,
circumstances, probably not. No, but we already know this already. But
is it
this
a
is the thing, and
probably not? Is it a probably not, or is
I
it an
don't see it.
absolutely
This is the
not?
thing. I don't know because we don't live in an open carry state. So when you
Right,
see anybody walking down the street with a fucking AR-15, you're put on immediate alarm. You're like, oh
right,
shit.
right.
So as the cops, obviously in New York State, without a fucking shred of a doubt, if a young black kid walked down the street with a fucking AK-47, he would be getting popped in his fucking head. We both know it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would happen to a young white kid in New York State that walked down the block open carrying an AK-47? He'd probably live to talk about it.
Right.
But we've been over this fucking
But
100 fucking times
here's
already.
the crazy part about the whole situation is it's almost it's crazy because it's telling so much. Because every time something like this happens, it's what's alarming to me is the commentary afterward. Like I've even seen
Yeah.
comments of people saying, "What's the big deal? He's just paralyzed. He's not dead."
At first, I didn't realize that he didn't die because you hear the story and when you
Right.
don't do the knowledge and look into it, it's like, oh, this
Mhm.
guy got shot in the back, what, 7 times or 5 times? It's like,
Right.
how do you survive that?
Right.
That's a fucking pretty substantial fucking thing to have had happen to you and not die.
Right.
But then again, you get back into this whole thing about why was he resisting arrest? And it's
Right.
like it's when you watch the video,
Mhm.
it's hard to fucking obviously watch somebody get shot in the back 5 fucking times or 7 times. I don't wanna
Mhm.
minimize, I just don't know the exact number.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, what the fuck do you think is going to happen?
Right.
First of all, like, when you see that video from another angle, dude has a knife in his fucking waistband or grabbing for a knife in his hand,
Mhm.
alright? So, we didn't see that angle when the cops came.
Mhm.
These dudes, you already know the fear the police have of a black man. And I watched a podcast on YouTube of a guy. The guy had made a statement on YouTube. His name is Donut Mechanic, I believe,
Mhm.
or Donut Operator, something weird like that. And he had made this video, and then he got a whole bunch of flack for it, and then made another video the next day and was breaking down a whole bunch of shit about the situation. And it was basically like, this we've seen this situation before. Everybody, we see the backlash of what happens with the police brutality against black people and how it sends the world into a frenzy. But
Mhm.
then they start breaking down, how are you in this situation in the first place? And I don't know what your take on, I see a lot of people on the internet that are like, there's no reason why somebody should get shot in the back 5, 7 times,
Right.
you know. But at the same time, uh what I was saying before we got interrupted by the fucking powers that be at Zencaster
Right.
is the dude, Jacob Blake. These cops that were responding to a call, right? They're in a small town where they're from. And this dude has an extensive history with the law,
Right.
as far as also he has been charged with deadly force against police officers assaulting police officers.
Right.
So they receive another domestic call
Mhm.
pertaining to this dude, show up to him, and then he starts to resist arrest and tries to get in his car. He has a knife on him already, and then resists arrest, tries to get in the car, and then they shoot him.
Right.
So it's like, you know while it's fucking nobody wants to see anybody get shot in the fucking back 5 to 7 times,
Mhm.
but I also heard he had a gun in the fucking car.
Right.
So it's like, what really happened, and the reaction to it is, I feel like it's almost subjective to his relationship to these police in that area already. But obviously, it fits into this narrative of what's been happening around the world, so people are responding to it that way.
Yeah, but it's like you
So
just said. It's like you just said. It's excuse me. It also has to do with the rampant fear of a black man being aggressive, because we can pick the story apart all day every day, but there's videos out there of white men threatening to kill police officers if they don't leave them alone. Like verbally, I will kill you if you come next to me or whatever, or try to arrest me. And there are white police officers that find ways to end these situations with minimal damage done to the perpetrator.
Absolutely. I agree
Whereas
100%.
Whereas, even though we can pick apart a person's prior criminal record, we can pick apart the fact that, oh, there was a gun in the car, there was a knife around, and everything else like that. What are we doing with training? Whereas that is enough to justify someone being shot 7 times in the
Yo,
back.
facts. This is the thing, and these are things we just can't gloss past, bro. Like,
Yes.
and I understand that there is a fucking large injustice, a
Hmm.
100 fucking percent that
Hmm.
you are 1,000,000% right that black people get treated fucked up by cops.
Right.
You are 100% right,
Right.
but this is the fucking reality of what and this is the biggest problem with the world today is people do not take the reality of the situation into account. They go straight for that shit. They go
Right.
straight for the fact that he's black and this is what happened.
Well, you know what it
And
is, and it's perfectly. This is the problem. All right. You and I can have a conversation and have a dialogue where I can understand. You see how you acknowledge my point and you say, you know what, you're 100% right. There is there's a severe injustice in the world when it comes to the treatment, the ethical treatment of black people by law enforcement. Right.
yeah,
I can also say, I can also say that there has to be responsibility taken by both sides.
absolutely.
The crazy part about it and why we keep reaching this impasse and why there's always now these protests popping up and people are feeling like they can't take it anymore is because there's no acknowledgement from the side of government like that there is
The-
something wrong.
this is the thing about that though. And you if you want to look into this,
Hmm.
tell me I'm fucking wrong.
Right.
I was watching now you're old enough to remember Yusef Hawkins, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. If you go back, I watched a documentary on HBO. It's about Yusuf Hawkins, and it's got
Hmm.
all of the news footage and everything that happened at that time with Sharpton and all of the marches in the streets through Bensonhurst and all this
Right.
shit. Right?
Hmm.
If you listen to the fucking terminology and the verbiage that media uses, it is
Hmm.
literally identical to today.
Hmm.
If you
Right.
shut your fucking eyes and listen to what they're saying, it's the exact same thing that is
Right.
being told to you by the media.
Right.
Now, you said about government. Who owns the fucking media? Who dictates what they say?
Absolutely.
So to me, it's like, and when I watch this shit, it's like this feels eerily fucking similar to what's going on today in the world.
Hmm.
Now, what would this government stand to benefit from keeping that fucking vibe going? It's literally the same exact shit.
Right.
The same shit.
Hmm.
So and now that was it was exactly 31 years ago. I know
Right.
because it was like 2 days before Danielle's birthday and she just turned 31
Hmm.
and not a fucking thing has changed.
Hmm.
And now you have all of these people involved, white, black, Spanish, whoever. The world is
Hmm.
a very diverse place. Yet somehow we haven't figured out how to peacefully coexist together. And white people of a certain type are still scared of black people of a certain type. And there's never been in the exact, in the 31 years since then, nothing has fucking changed.
You know the funniest part is that in the grand scheme of things, the way I see it, and the way I look at the world is, I'm not one of those people that's just. I'm not a person that's like, you know what, we gotta hate back on hate. Like if we're being hated, we have to we have to just go and hate back and let's fight hate with hate, because then all it's gonna do is continue and perpetuating the cycle. We see that with gang wars and with wars in the Middle East and all of that stuff. It's just generational hate. They did something to us, we'll do something to them. They did something to us, we'll do something to them. And you keep reacting to what the person is doing to you. But nobody is trying to educate and say, listen, what are the actual differences? Even when you go to a white neighborhood, a black neighborhood, capitalism, we all dealing with the same thing. You understand what
But
I'm saying?
but this is another thing about that whole thing, and it's like I have people on my Facebook from New York, right? People I know
Mhm.
from hip hop from New York. First of all, in New York, unless you're talking about the North Shore of Long Island and the
Right,
South Shore of Long Island, which is completely unattainable to the regular fucking working man and regular person in general.
right,
There is not a white neighborhood or a fucking black neighborhood. You have white neighbors, you have black neighbors, you have Spanish, you have Indian, you have every fucking walk of life coming through, right?
right,
So we all live together here. We're not segregated in a sense from anything else except financially, money.
right.
So basically, when I go on Facebook and I see a guy that I know from hip hop that I've always been cool with talking about, I'm drawing a line in the sand. If you don't share my exact fucking beliefs, fuck you. I'll fuck you up right now.
Mhm.
What the fuck does that breed? Because there's people like me that are like, all right, so fuck me up then. Because I
Right.
because I don't agree that fucking, you know what I'm
But that's
saying? Like,
that's my point. That's my point. What does
yeah,
that
but that's
beget?
the
You
same
drive
fucking
you
ignorance. That's what
yeah,
drives this shit.
right. But the thing about it is this. This behavior, this behavior of fear of black people and this whole like hatred of black people and everything else like that. This is something that's taught generation after generation after
Who's teaching
generation.
it? The fucking media is the one driving the narrative.
That's
I
my
don't
point.
know a single fucking person,
Mhm.
old, young, or anybody that is scared of a fucking black person in 2020. Now, there's different degrees of sheltered racism that it exists in these people through generation.
Right.
Obviously, old people were taught something completely different than young people. You cannot be a fucking young person in 2020 that's close to our age that walks around like, fuck, I hate black people. Especially not in New York. Like, how do
Right.
you not have an understanding of we're all here together? Like, it's like
Right.
that's why it's like when I hear this the narrative that's set by people talking about, why this is happening. It's not. It's not why it's happening because we keep perpetuating the same cycle of shit. It just doesn't stop.
But see, the thing about it is what makes what kills me is how can you be how can you be racist on any level? This is my point. And this is just a question that I would love to ask someone who is just like totally anti-black or had or sides with the way the treatment of black people. It's like, so you mean to tell me that you hate sports, you hate music, you
that's the
hate
wildest part about this.
you hate Hollywood. You there's no way that you can tell me that you like anything in media and you don't like black people. That makes no sense to me.
Well, that's the wildest part to me. It's like young kids and the culture of hip hop music is for years has been
Right.
obviously it is what it is. It's like this is a black culture that
Hmm.
white kids fucking attach themselves to and love.
Right.
So that's why like none of this ever made any fucking sense to me when you meet it. Like I've heard white people say racist shit before, but
Right.
I've heard black people say racist shit before without fucking like especially now, like
Right.
without any recourse at all. Everybody's a fucking stupid cracker. Like, could you imagine if
Right.
white people just did that the opposite way? Like it would be like
But they have, just
they
not in
had
our
yes,
lifetime. That's what I'm saying.
I get it, but this is our lifetime now. If you like, obviously, I'm not complaining about it. I fucking get it and I understand.
Mhm.
But here we are in 2020, and you know, you look at the situation for what it is, and it's like, how does that stop the fucking problem? If all of you white motherfuckers are crackers that did this and that, like, how does that stop perpetuating the cycle?
Well,
Especially when you have people that are supportive of the cause and they agreeing that shit is fucked and needs to change. But
right.
when you look at it on Facebook and you're a stupid fucking cracker for what some fucking yokel in Wisconsin did, like, you know what I'm saying? We have nothing in common with that guy.
Right. But the crazy part about it is this. Just picture this. I have a son, right, who's growing up in New York. He's growing up in a diverse population. He gets to meet uh, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, wherever. Um, my neighborhood is culturally diverse. You understand what I'm saying? And it's even more diverse than I even thought it was. I'm discovering day by day. However, even though we're exposed to that here, what happens if he goes to college somewhere in Mississippi? You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
it's the sad reality that you got to
And
be like, yo,
the thing about it is that what is saddening to a black person, especially a black person, to any person, it doesn't even matter what their status is in life. It doesn't matter. See, we put this connotation like, oh, because I'm an upstanding member of society and I have a good job and everything. It doesn't matter. I don't care if the person is on public assistance. What the saddening part is, if you happen to be able to send your child away to school or somewhere that is outside of the comfort zone of New York, they you have to now prepare your child to, like, listen, this is how you have to deal with police. We have to teach, that is a lesson in a black household that has to be taught to young black men and women on how to survive encounters with police. And that's the thing that is so disheartening and it's hurtful, because there's no acknowledgement from the media, from the government, because it's like, this is something that's trained. They claim that these police forces are trained, but they're not trained in a way that's conducive to protecting a black person. You know what I'm saying?
yes, they create. This is what I'm trying to explain to you, and maybe I don't think anybody wants to hear this, but this situation is literally created by the same people you're expecting to come up with a solution.
Exactly.
Because if there was a thing where they didn't set forth the fucking narrative that they set, it
Right.
would be as simple as like this. Like you obviously know that there are terrible people in the world that are going to treat people like shit based on their color.
Right.
Okay?
Hmm.
And you have to tell your children that. Just like you have to tell your children, if you go to Florida, a fucking crocodile could come out of a fucking pond and eat you. So watch out for those fucking assholes.
Well, they're actually alligators. Crocodiles are from Africa.
Crocodile, alligator, I don't fucking know the difference
I'm
because I'm
just
not
saying.
from there.
You, no,
All
you
I
got
know is,
you have to actually say the right things. They're called alligators down in Florida.
what the fuck
Okay.
is the difference between an alligator and a crocodile?
They're distant cousins, but they're not the same.
Okay, Steve Irwin. So, but that's what I'm saying. It's like it has to be said. You're right. It has to be said.
Right.
So if you're from New York your entire fucking life and you go to Florida and you're just sitting on the side of a fucking lake, like, yeah, this
Right.
shit is fucking awesome. It's warm. I'm just sipping my iced tea. And then you
Right.
get eaten by a fucking alligator. And nobody
So
told you there was alligators.
so now let
What?
me ask you this. Do you feel that, let's say you're in a room, right? And you hear a bunch of racist rhetoric going on, right? And you
Who's in the
don't
room?
it's you
Who-
and a few other gentlemen, and they're speaking in a racist manner,
Are they
right?
all white people or are they
Yes,
all
they're all white.
mixed?
They're all white.
Yeah.
Okay? They're all white. And you hear racist rhetoric going on, right? And you just turn a blind ear and a blind eye to it, and even though you don't feel that way, you just don't get involved.
Do I know these people?
Yeah.
So these are
Yes.
like,
I'm not saying
so,
they're friends. They did people you know.
okay.
Okay. Are you
It,
complicit in their racism, or are you just saying that you're staying out of it?
I mean, I think you know me well enough, and I have a big fucking mouth.
No,
So
no,
if
I
you,
no, I'm just saying. I'm talking about
no,
the
I
people
know, but
that
it's like if where, what environment could that thrive in? Like, who would just sit? Like, I don't know what degree these dudes are. What are they saying? Like, fuck black people. Like, what are they saying? Like,
just, just basic general, you know, think about a room full of guys talking crazy, right? And there's racist jokes being hurled back and forth that are
jokes?
disparaging to Hispanic people, to black people, to Asian people and everything else like that. Are
Listen,
these
bro.
things? Listen to
I'm
me.
listening. I'm listening. All right, fine.
In every joke, even if a person tries to hide it as humor, there's truth in it because that's what brings about the irony of the humor is that there's some truth in it. And if you're gonna find the humor in a joke that is disparaging to a group of people, that must denote a way that you feel. And that's what I'm
No,
saying is if
I
you
don't agree with that though. I don't
how,
agree with that.
how do you, so what do you say?
On the basis of, I mean, you're talking about we're talking about comedy now. Like, I grew up watching fucking Eddie Murphy and Richard
Hmm.
Pryor
Right.
and Patrice O'Neal and Bill
Hmm.
Burr and Dave Chappelle and Louis C.K.
Right.
Like, on the basis of comedy. Like,
Right.
if I'm sitting there now, if we're snapping on each other and we're all in a room and there's jokes, and I've
Right.
been in a room when y'all motherfuckers was talking about the why and okay, so and it's fucking funny, but
Right.
like if you want to come out your face and say blatantly racist shit about
Right.
black people just to be a dick, that's
Right.
completely different than a joke. And I know there's people in the world that are so serious about this problem because of the current climate that we live in that they ain't no jokes. And obviously now is not the right time to be making fucking off-colored jokes.
Right.
Pardon my fucking pun. But it is what it is. And like you could tell when a joke is a joke, and you could tell when it's meant maliciously to try to play
That's what I'm
somebody.
saying. If you hear malicious speak, right?
Obviously, I'm gonna be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And who the
No,
fuck are you? And
I'm
what?
exactly. So that's you see how you get down? Now, if half of white America got down the way you get down, right? Then the racism issue wouldn't be such an insurmountable task to try to fix because it would be fixed internally. Because people would say, you know what? I'm not trying to hear that in 2020. 2020, we need to get past that hurdle. But because people turn a blind eye and they don't want to get involved, and that's not me, and I have black friends and all of this stuff like that. It's like, well, don't you feel like you're complicit to the fact that the problem still exists?
Yeah, but you just don't deal with people like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be in a room with those people more than once.
Hmm.
Because I'd be like, "Yo, this dude is a dickhead," and
Right,
like after I spoke my piece on it, they wouldn't want to be around me anymore
right.
anyway. But at the heart of this whole fucking thing, it is
Hmm.
like it's like when I said before about the Yusef Hawkins documentary. If you close your eyes and listen to the commentary,
Right.
here we are, 31 years later,
Hmm.
uh, still arguing that my dick is a different color than yours. Like
Right.
when you break it down to that, it's like how ridiculous is this?
Right.
Like this is fucking like as people, it's almost like we need something to fucking hate each other for.
Right.
Because at the core of what we're arguing about, it's a color.
But this is what I'm saying. It's like if you're a person, like I don't even. Let me rephrase that. If you're a person, especially how big food is nowadays, like food is a big thing. People walk around calling themselves foodies, right? Seriously,
Yeah,
people walking, they
I
call
know a
themselves
few
foodie.
people like that. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a foodie. This is my point. It's like if you can appreciate different cultures when it comes to art, when it comes to food, when it comes to fashion, when it comes to a multitude of different things, then what is this whole like we have to stay uh like segregated by the color of our skin? Every group of human beings on this planet has something to offer to the fabric of humanity. Every group of human beings. So at the end of all of that, I say like this: there's no such thing as American cuisine without black people. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as America without black people.
Yeah, I know. This has always been the wildest part about this problem, and as far back as people want to date it, it's like, first of all, none of us were here when this beef started,
Exactly.
and it's like you want to
But the
keep
thing about
having
it
beef.
is the funniest thing is when you see like these white power groups that want to claim ownership of America. And it's like, dude, you can't do that. There was too many hands that helped create what this is as a country. You know what I'm saying? Even if you have a dominant class of people that were kind of pulling the strings, most of you poor white people were not a part of that group. You know what I'm
No.
saying? You're not a part of that group. Listen, like you said, the North Shore and the South Shore of Long Island, if you want to know how it feels to not be accepted, try to find yourself white, black, or anything in those areas after dark, and you'll see what happens. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. It's a dude. Every time we talk about this is it's never gonna fucking end. I don't believe in my lifetime while I'm here on this earth that
Hmm.
we will ever see an end to this discussion or
Hmm.
this problem
Right.
because it is literally not making one fucking ounce of stride in the right direction.
Hmm.
And I'm 38, and so in the last 31 years plus, in the
Hmm.
last 38 years, I can only account for the time I can remember, and I can remember the Yusef Hawking thing as a kid. It has
Hmm.
not changed one single fucking bit.
Right.
Not one bit. So what the fuck indicators are telling me that it will?
No, I'm just
Because it's
saying
only
it's kind of crazy because I was even remarking to someone the other day, and I was like, disproportionately, they say disproportionately, black people, we deal with like diabetes and high blood pressure and obesity and a whole plethora of like cancer and everything else like that we deal with disproportionately to other ethnic groups in this country. And
okay.
I was saying that in our community, in the black community, we we live a very anxiety filled existence in this country because there's so much that you have to adapt to and overcome just to be what you have to be to get where you have to go. And especially by region, it depends on which region you're from. Because again, I've said this a long time ago. Certain regions in this country are just by default easier to succeed in than others. You understand what I'm saying? Just by
Yeah.
default,
Oh,
because you're
I
more
don't
up
know.
close and you're more. No, I'm just saying you're just more up close and personal to where things are happening at, just by
I've only
default.
ever been here. I feel like, I went to Florida for, maybe 6 months when I was in my early 20s.
Right.
But you're right, though, being from New York, if you could make it happen here,
Yeah.
where everything was, and now the world is completely changing the sense that New York ain't what it used to be even a
No.
year ago.
Right.
So I don't know. I
But
don't.
I
I feel
mean, like as far as the reason why I say like you can succeed, like when you're more or less around any major city, any major hub of this country, there's a lot more opportunity. And the thing about it is what you have to ask yourself, what is opportunity? Because some people see opportunity very differently. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some people that don't see a $10 an hour job as opportunity. They feel like, oh well, if I'm not starting off making $20 an hour, I'm not. That's not a good opportunity.
it's
So
not though in New York. If you could make an opportunity out of a $10 an hour job in New York, then you're doing something right because you can't have a $10 an hour job and
yeah, but
a
what
place
about
to
people?
live
What
and a
about
car.
people that say what? Well, but what about people that come here? Immigrant groups that come here, take those jobs. They live like 20 people in an apartment and they save
That's
up their chips. They save up their chips and then they go out and strike out and do something on their own. They create their own.
absolutely that's the thing though.
That's
But if
why I
you're
said it's
just
like how you view opportunity.
and how willing you are to be uncomfortable is another major factor in
Yeah,
that because
sacrifice is sacrifice. You know, you can't look at the guy. If you look at a guy that is driving a brand new car, that owns a house, that has, a couple of dollars in the bank and everything else like that, you're only seeing that small little portion of the picture. You don't see the road that that guy traveled to get there.
No, nobody ever sees that.
That's
They
what I'm
just look
saying.
at it, and
So it's how you interpret opportunity. Now, if you interpret opportunity as that $10 an hour job won't get me the brand new car, the house, the money in the bank, the nice wife and kid and all of that stuff. If you feel like that won't lead to that, then you won't see that as an opportunity. But if you see that $10 an hour job as a stepping stone, and you start to say, well, if I do that for X amount of years and I save up X amount of dollars, this will put me in a position to invest in this. Then you have a 5-year plan when you start your business and everything else like that. Now, a few years later, you end up where you wanted to be. There's some people that see
yeah,
opportunity that way, and there's a lot of people that don't. You know,
I know. I hear you. I
I
don't know,
just feel
man.
like right now the way things are in this country is it's so crazy because here we are closer to schools supposed to be reopening, right? We're still in the midst of a pandemic where the infection rate has lowered, but there's still new infections every day. There's still new deaths every day. We still have this invisible beast out there lurking. But amidst all of that, we still find the time to hate one another instead of like coming together and trying to help and build with one another. We're finding the time to still hate one another. And that's the thing that's so disheartening about the American people.
I agree. I love everyone though. I hate the way people act,
Hmm.
as like people I even know in general. Like
Hmm.
when I go on Facebook and I read some of the shit people say, I'm like, and it's only because I read it and I'm like, there is no fucking hope
Hmm.
because of the message. And it's like, I don't know if you have this, but I have a lot of like like white kids from
Hmm.
hip hop on my
Right.
Facebook
Yes.
and people I know in person.
Hmm.
And I know that they don't believe what they're saying, but
Hmm.
they'll share shit that has this narrative to it that is detrimental to the entire thing because they feel like if they don't, people are gonna look at them crazy. Like when I read a guy that I know in hip hop say, if you're on this side of this, or if you don't feel exactly like me on this topic, then fuck you.
Hmm.
I'm like, then fuck you. I'm not like, oh shit, I better get on topic with this guy, even though he's dead fucking wrong in the way he thinks, and the way he thinks he's going to spread something that's going to be perpetuating this cycle of hate.
Right.
Like, and that's the problem with a lot of people. And I even seen, uh, I don't know if Kyle listens to this podcast, but this dude Kyle on my Facebook, he's a kid I know from hip hop, and I've seen him at shows through the years. I don't know if you ever met him. I don't know who you would know that knows him. He would be at the tech shows a lot. He's a black kid. He's got dreads. I don't know if you ever
Hmm.
met him before, but he said he wrote something on Facebook, and I couldn't agree with him more with what he said. And he was basically like, I don't agree with a lot of the shit that a lot of my friends are saying on Facebook, but if I don't, if I say something about it, then I'm
Hmm.
automatically cast as this fucking asshole. And that's the very thing that is perpetuating this from fucking, if to keep going.
Yeah, but the thing about it is can we ever dare to be different? Can we ever dare to step up and say this is what I truly feel and believe? The thing about it is if you're carrying someone else's belief and someone else's practice, you're just basically spreading it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but that's the thing. This is the thing about what he's saying is like, here you have a black man in 2020
Hmm.
that won't say what he wants to say or doesn't feel comfortable saying what he wants to say
Hmm.
because it doesn't agree with the narrative of the people around him that are so irrational about the way they feel about what's happening in the world that he just chooses silence instead. And I'm right there with him because if you notice my Facebook, like I
Yeah.
talk freely on here.
Right.
I don't make political stances on Facebook because of that fucking reason. It's like because I need to be able to explain myself.
Right.
Because there's people that don't read that
Mhm.
won't read the whole fucking point or even get the whole point and then form an opinion. And all of a sudden, not that I give a fuck what anybody thinks about me, it's that like I don't need to have a fucking argument with somebody on Facebook about something that they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
You know what the crazy part is? though? The crazy part is that in 2020, this is the thing, and I talk about this even with conflict resolution with my wife, right? If we both standing there arguing and you're yelling and I'm yelling, nobody's listening. No one is listening. So if
That's
we
why exactly my point.
yeah, no one's
I ain't
listening.
yelling.
Yeah, it's like if you're standing there saying, if you don't feel the way I feel, then screw you and everything, that means that you already have closed yourself off to possibly learning something.
Well,
There's
that's a
there's
dangerous type of person. They
yes,
know everything.
there's no way that you could actually go along in this life and feel like there's no new information that you could learn.
I know.
When you're stunting your growth. Uh, To be honest, let's look up the textbook definition. Excuse me, the textbook definition of what a retard is. You're retarding your growth. When you're closing yourself off, you're saying to the masses, there's a limit to the information that I can process. So
Did you notice?
I'm only willing to go to this point and no further. So you are in effect a retard.
And did you notice you're no longer allowed to use the word retard on any fucking social media platform?
Yeah, right,
Yeah, I
right.
wonder if that's been thought out.
Of course, but that's the meaning of retarding something is to limit it. It means that you're limited. So if you're limiting your your acquisition of knowledge, you can never ever grow and seek and find new things. There's information everywhere. There's information you can learn from the bum on the street. You don't know who that person was before they became a bum on the street. You know what I'm saying? At the end of
Yeah.
all of all of this that I'm saying is when I see comments where, like you say, people are like, I'm drawing the line in the sand and this is the way it is and blah blah blah, thus and so. That is a person who is limiting themselves and they're putting themselves in a position to be an enemy of anyone that's trying to grow. You know what I'm saying?
Agent
Be-
provocateurs.
the crazy part is both sides have points. Both sides have points. I'm not one of those
It's
people that's like it's my side and that's it. Both sides have points, but when do you sit down and say, "Listen, I acknowledge that point." And this side says I acknowledge that point, and then you try to actually fix what the problem is. You know what I'm saying? And there's many people in the U.S. that are either A, therapists, or B, going to therapy. Why is it so hard to find a therapeutic response to racism?
because people are retarded. It's funny you say this because 5 days ago I wrote on Facebook. Remember the word we used to call special people that rode the short bus to school in
Mhm,
the
mhm,
80s?
mhm.
Most of y'all are that shit. Like
Right.
really, really that shit.
Yes, you definitely illustrated the word without saying the word.
I mean, because I looked through my fucking Facebook and it's like, ugh. People are in fucking like categories on my Facebook. I don't even want like TikTok is the greatest thing that ever fucking happened. It really
Right.
is.
Okay.
Because the second some bullshit comes up and I'm like, you sometimes you scroll and there's the somber music and then somebody that's about to get into their bullshit fucking life story.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
next. Show me the titties.
But you
like
see,
I'm
here's even a part of that too. Chadwick Boseman just passed. Rest in peace
rest in peace, man.
to Chadwick Boseman. Okay. Uh, very good actor. I was feeling him from 42. Everybody talks about like Black Panther, James Brown, but even the Jackie Robinson story, I think he did a fantastic job in that movie. Um,
Yeah.
he was a very talented actor, and he was one of those guys like a Jamie Foxx or a Denzel. Like he embodied the role of the people that he played. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And the craziest part, I think he broke a Twitter record
Yeah.
for the most. His final tweet was the most liked tweet in in the history of Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like a wildfire. Everybody went to his feed and liked his last tweet. Um, Black Panther. What can I say? That was a awesome, awesome, awesome movie. And for it to be a superhero movie, it transcended the lines of just being a movie from the Marvel universe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because of the subject matter and everything else like that. And I'm saying all the records that this movie broke with all of the notoriety that this movie got and everything else like that. You mean to tell me there were no racist people watching this movie?
Of course there were. You don't remember, like, right before the shit was coming out, and there was people like Black Panther. They need to make a black superhero. Blah 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 blah. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
always, bro. It's never gonna stop.
But this is my point. This guy was like, even when I threw up the thing on Instagram, when I threw up the post, like a rest in peace post with a little
Oh
video of
yeah,
him.
one thing about that is you need to learn how to fucking crop shit, bro. What the hit the fucking button already. Jesus Christ. For anybody listening, when a video isn't cropped properly, Fats posted it. Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, immediately, Rocco commented on it and commented on how much of a great actor he was and the great person he was and everything else like that, right?
Yeah, he loves all those movies, bro. He's the guy.
Yeah,
He
but this is what
loves
I'm
them.
saying. Rocco loves movies.
Yeah.
Rocco loves Hollywood and cinematography and everything else like that. Rocco was not looking at the guy's race or the guy's creed, his color, or what he was. Rocco was like, as an actor, this guy rocked. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's like when I deal with people like you guys, and then you deal with people that are not like you guys, or when you guys deal with people like me or people that are not like me, it's like, what is your major malfunction? Like, why
Bro,
does a person have to be something, put in a box?
I see, this is the thing about that thing. I don't know anybody
Hmm.
like that you know that is like a black guy that hates white guys. Do you
Right.
know any white guys that hate black guys? I know the guys we used to work with, the old fucking donkeys that were on their way out that
Hmm.
had the undertones of racism,
Right.
but they were raised in a time when their parents were fucking racist.
Right.
And so they just have these, they make these off-color statements and shit. That's been the closest thing to in New York people that I have ever experienced that were, as you would describe them, racist is just basic bigotry.
Right.
And even
That's the proper word, the bigotry. Go ahead.
yeah, but even those guys, like, I don't want to name them and shit, but you
Of
knew
course,
they had a
yeah.
good heart at the end of the day. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We would all sit there with them and eat,
Right.
and we would joke and shit. They would have those undertones to them,
Right.
but they'd give you the shirt off their back, and they would just taught wrong. They
Listen,
would just,
no one hurls racial epithets as good as I do. You know what I mean? And
I,
I was taught that by being amongst people that hurled racial epithets back and forth. You know what I'm saying? If you sit and you listen, it doesn't even have to do with race. If I sit and I study a person long enough and I break them down head to toe, you don't think that there's things that I could find to snap on about a person?
absolutely,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Listen, how many times have you said, me being larger than you, our whole existence, right? I
That's right.
I would find ways to shame you about being fat.
Yeah, that would blow my mind too. I'd be like, this guy is a clear 200 pounds heavier than me at the time, and he is calling me fat. I'm like, Jesus,
But
what the
and in a way that you would even kind of feel bad about yourself. Like, I need to get my life together. This guy's coming at me very hard. That
Dude.
is, you can find, dude, you can find anything to talk about anybody. People can
Yeah.
talk about me. They can talk about you. They can talk about, whatever. The problem that I have, is that when it's not just, it's not, like you said earlier, it's not from a just a humor side thing or to make a person laugh. It's a malicious way of speaking about a person or a people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and like, I've yet to encounter that. Like somebody that was dead ass like, I hate these fucking black people. And he
Right.
didn't say black people.
Right.
He
Yeah, of
said the
course.
other word.
Yes, yes.
I've heard many people that I've known in life talk about, black people do this and that, and they come from a place of like, it's sort of because they're worried about shit and what they
Hmm.
heard on the news, and they start, spewing out this narrative about black people that's untrue
Right.
most cases. But never the one where it's like, just blatant, just KKK shit. Like,
Right.
it's like, but
But I'm just
apparently
saying,
this is a thing.
the further south you go, you'll start to find them. You see what I'm saying?
This kid Ron, remember I played a song the other day.
You're too
He says
feathered.
stuff. Yeah, he's from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and
Right.
he says shit to me in messages. He'll ask me questions about stuff like that, and I'm like, Ron, I live in fucking New York, bro.
Right.
Like, I don't experience the world the same as you do in Oklahoma
Right.
because that shit got weeded out. You cannot walk around like that here.
Right. Right.
Like, you can't, like, 2020, and you're gonna walk around and identify as a fucking racist in New York?
Right.
Good luck with that.
Well, what is he asking you?
He just asks different, like, like race relation kind of things. Like, not, we haven't had these conversations in a while, but like when the last time with the George Floyd shit was going on,
Hmm.
basically like what's the tone on the streets here, and are people at each other, and or because it may be like that over there, and if if you go to um one of these rallies in the street, what's it like? And it's like, first of all, I'm all rallied in the street out. I left that with Immortal Technique. That's gone for me. After
Right.
I seen what the real cause is, and I just don't do that anymore. Like, I'm not showing up for that kind of shit. And I
Right.
told him that too. But it's like, the question is, he's from Oklahoma and he's never been here before. So like, to expect, like, when you think about New York as a whole
Hmm.
and the population of it, you would think that things could get pretty unruly because of we're a very densely populated place.
Well, here's
And
the thing. There's a such thing. There's two different New Yorks though.
yeah, but I don't know the other one. I'm
Yeah,
here.
but there's two different New Yorks. There's the New York that we live in, and then there's the state of New York.
Yeah, that's not New York. That's like upstate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because what people don't realize is the five boroughs, Westchester and Long Island, are actually the bowels of New York State. Like, we're like the whole and what comes out of the whole of New York State's
Well, it
behind.
is
You know
what
what
it
I'm saying?
is. It's like everybody that came up in one of the five boroughs, like every single fucking person I know,
Right.
parents grew up in one of the five boroughs.
Right. But
And
that's
then
what
they
I'm saying. There's the tale of two New Yorks. It's like once you rise above like Westchester, Rockland area, once you rise above that, it's a whole nother world, my man. You might as well be somewhere in the South. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it's hard to explain that to people that have never been here before, though. Like, it's like it's a weird. I don't know nothing about Tulsa, Oklahoma. You
Right.
know what I mean?
All I
What could
know,
I know?
all I know is the Tiger King. That's it.
That's where he's from, Oklahoma. Like,
Yep.
I don't. I guess that's my point of reference too. And then when they tell me they have a city in Tulsa, I'm like, what do you got? A couple? You got like 7 buildings? What do you got?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
what city?
Right. But
Their city is probably like here.
Tulsa is also like a hotbed for, like racist past. You know the
Yeah,
history of
the
Tulsa.
Black Wall Street shit. All
Yeah.
he was explaining all that shit to me. Yeah,
You know
I
the
know.
history of Tulsa, and like there's still like bodies that are unclaimed in Tulsa. You know what I'm saying? Of people that were like murdered in mass numbers by, you know, racial insurrections. And this is the thing that black people have suffered time and time again in this country, have suffered these things. And it's like, oh, let's try to get over it. Let's get past it. But if it's okay, let's get past it. Are we the only ones that are supposed to get past it? Or is everyone supposed to get past it?
I mean, obviously, it is what it is. You're telling, if this didn't happen to you, how could you tell somebody just get over it? Just
That's
get
my point.
over it.
That's my
Like,
point.
I mean,
You know?
obviously, it's like, there's obvious detriment to holding on to the past, but when people hold on to the past, it's sort of like to make sure the future doesn't become it. You know what I mean? Like, you
Mhm.
have to be conscious of what the fuck is going on, but there's ways to do it while still letting the future happen and be a brighter future. And I think there's two different types of people that want a better future, and then there's people that want to perpetuate a cycle of bullshit because they don't know any other way because it's been bullshit for so fucking long and you can't tell somebody it won't be.
Right.
I believe it won't be. I don't
But
want it to be, but I believe from the fucking numbers, it's going to be some shit.
like you think about, all right, you and I had a conversation last week when just like switching gears real quick. We had a conversation last week, a serious conversation about what was going on with you when you went out with your wife last week, right?
Right.
And it was like it was crazy because this is something that ties into what I'm saying here. How could I tell you? How could I sit and tell you, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just get over it. Don't worry about that." When I haven't walked in that in your footsteps and to deal with the foolishness that you had to deal with. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm totally out of line by telling you that. Like, oh, don't why are you even sweating that? Why are you even letting that get to you? You should just get over it. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't, if you don't know what it is and you never had to deal with it, that's 100% the truth. You can't really speak on it, So, but that most people know everything. I don't
Right.
know if you've met people before,
Right.
but everybody knows everything, and
Of course.
and every little nuance to every situation, and
Mhm.
that's the world. And listen, I know that already going into the thing with everything, and that's why I could count on one hand how many people I talk to.
Right.
You being one of them.
Right.
Like, just because I don't have time for shit. I don't have time
Right.
for for other people's learning process. Like, I've pretty much got myself to a point where it's like I understand the world around me,
Right.
and I treat it as such with sort of a compassion for people that don't. But that doesn't mean I want to fucking deal with their shit.
Right.
You get to a certain age and shit where you're like, this is gonna be the way it is, and nothing I can't change that.
Yeah, but it's just ridiculous when you think about certain things. Like I just the way things are going right now is like when I look on my social media, obviously you see the pain that black people are enduring just like every single day. And it's like when it's not only that you're reeling against what's happened, it's like what's going to be the next thing and what's going to be the next thing and when will it end, when will we stop, like the it's like the moment that you see that this type of behavior is sparking violent protests all over the nation, wouldn't that be something for the powers that be to say, you know what, we got to put an end to this, we have to put
Well,
an end to it. And then the thing about it is that when you have people like Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, who says, we're going to defund the police, right? Now, that's just like the whole kneeling thing with the Colin Kaepernick thing. It's like, let's reel against that. Oh my gosh, they're going to take money away from the police force to do. And then the guy is basically saying, well, let's take money that we were funding the police force and share that money with the community and invest in trying to make the community better so that relations between the community and the police force can change. Now, instead of reeling against just the fact that they want to do that, how about let's try to find a way to make this thing work? Nobody wants to find a way to make anything work. They just want to, like, that's just wrong. Defunding the police.
Yeah, dude, everybody has this fucking daddy complex though, where it's like daddy's going to come in and fix this. And if like, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm the greatest person in the world, right? Cuz
Right.
obviously I'm a fucking asshole in some regards and but if everybody lived like me,
Hmm.
then the world would be a better place.
Now, how is that?
Because I wake up in the morning and I
Hmm.
mind my own fucking business.
Right.
I take care of my family. I don't fucking go out and do anything that's going to put me in a position that could potentially have me in trouble with the law, in
Hmm.
trouble with a, a gang, in trouble
Hmm.
with anybody that wants to do harm to me. Now, there's obviously, you spin a wheel every time you leave the house.
Definitely.
And when you spin the wheel, your chances of getting fucking landing on shit are higher than mine because
Right.
you're black
Hmm.
and cops fuck with black people when they drive a fucking car down the street.
Right.
Now, some people could say, it doesn't matter, but it's not true. It does. You get harassed by police more than me. I
Right.
could admit that. I'm
Hmm.
not fucking stupid. The numbers don't lie.
Hmm.
But at the same time, in your day-to-day living in life, like how many times in your adult life have you found yourself in some shit that you didn't ask for lately?
Right. Absolutely.
Now, like I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to negate the fact that these things happen and you never know. But if everybody just handled their shit and didn't fucking create a world of shit for themselves, the
Hmm.
world would be a much better place.
Here's the thing, though. When it comes down, when it comes to that, you're right. The older you get, that's the more that you try to sidestep trouble. You know what I'm saying? You try to put yourself, you try to keep yourself away from trouble. You don't even want to, like, I remember, you remember when you were younger, if you
Yeah,
saw some, like, some stupidness break out, you would want to see, oh,
yeah,
they're
you'd
about to
run up
fight.
to the stupidness
Yeah,
and you'd be like, "What's
you're
happening?"
about to fight, or there's an accident, or this, that, and the third. Now, in this is me personally. I'm speaking for me. If I see anything that looks like an anomaly in human beings' behavior, I'm walking the other way.
That shit ain't got nothing to do with
It
me.
has nothing to do with me, my friend. I
Somebody could be screaming their head off on the corner. I look at the motherfucker and be like,
Now,
"That shit got
again,
nothing to do with me."
and this is not to be misconstrued, because there's going to be people that watch and say, "Oh, so you if you saw someone that needed help." No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the nosy part of me has long died. The
Right.
person that would get involved if somebody was is I'm still a person that would get involved if somebody needed help. What I'm saying is I'm not a thrill seeker anymore. I'm a person who's responsible for not only myself but for other people as well. So I try to preserve myself and my life as much as I possibly can. So I move around in a certain way that is not detrimental to my survival. So
Absolutely. You got
that
people depend on you.
that's it. So, but there's, like, situations where you look at, and it's like I when I see it, I'm like, you know what? We can always like look at a person and judge a person by what's on paper. It's the same thing with George Floyd. They tried to say he was on drugs and he was this and he was that and this. So that means that we place a value on his life by his criminal record. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes and no. I know exactly what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm saying, when I say this shit ain't never gonna stop,
Hmm.
it's because it hasn't. So
No,
when
but
you
what I'm
look at
saying, what I'm saying is, just like we just said about me, I'm a gainfully employed person. I'm a upstanding member of society. I got a great job. I live in a great neighborhood. I have a few dollars in the bank. I got the whole American dream with the white picket fence. I have it, right? But I also have been arrested before in my life. You understand
right,
what I'm saying? So now, if something was to happen and cops were to do something to me, automatically my life would be reduced to my criminal record, is what they're saying.
Absolutely. It
So
would say,
nothing else matters. Nothing else matters other than the
oh,
fact of
well,
trying to defame the person that is the victim who lost their life.
this is the thing though about your situation. There's a trajectory in
Mhm.
people.
Right?
Your trajectory
Uh-huh.
on paper
Uh-huh.
is one that if some tragic shit happened to you, nobody could be like, this guy was a fucking piece of shit drug addict loser that did blah blah blah. They'd be like,
Right.
no, this guy has worked for one of the biggest companies in New York City for almost 20 years,
Mhm.
flawless reputation with people, stand up guy. Like
Mhm.
that's a whole there's when you go through life, you meet people and you affect them. So,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like there'd be all these hundreds, if not thousands of people you've encountered that would be like, nah, everything the media is saying about you is not true.
Right.
Now, when you have a guy like the George Floyd guy, it's people are like, yes, he's my brother. Yes, he's my son. Yes, nobody's like, no, he wasn't a drug addict. No, he wasn't trying to pass a fake bill. There's a difference. It's yes, you guys share the fact that you're both black,
Mhm.
but you're not that guy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that the guy deserved to die by any means and that his life means less than yours. But
Mhm.
you've created a reputation for yourself of one way. Yes, obviously, I've been arrested more times than you. They
Right.
wouldn't even
Absolutely.
fucking bring it up.
Mhm.
They wouldn't bring it up if
That's my thing.
I
But that's
know.
my point is that if we both had to, if something happened to me and something happened to you, my whole anything that they could find, my his license was suspended twice for non-payment of parking tickets. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like
You didn't
they
do that, did you?
but I'm just saying, like, this is the stuff that you would have to deal with. Like, let's find a way to throw dirt. Like the guy, oh man, the one in Texas, the kid that got murdered in his house. What's his name?
Yeah, I
You know what I'm
don't.
talking about? By the cop, by the white lady cop.
Yeah, I can't recall the name, but I know what you're talking about.
Both them Gene, right?
Right.
Where she walked into his house while he was in his house. She walked in his house and murdered him, right? The main
Yeah.
focus is, oh, he had weed in his house.
Man, get the fuck out of here.
But you understand what I'm trying to say? It's like
I get it, but that there was
it's
some
like
other
what are
shit
we
involved.
doing here? What are we doing here? Why does that matter? The man died.
It
And you
does.
trying to tell me that there's no white people in America with weed in their house?
No, I mean the white people got all the weed. Got the good shit too.
But I'm just saying that it's just let's try to find something. And the thing about it is, if we going all back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I was just talking to my wife last night about it. We were talking about all of the stuff that's going on. And you know what's sad about all of this? I'm still stuck on Breonna Taylor.
Yeah,
Why is it that they haven't charged these cops? Why are they
I don't.
waiting? Like, I don't understand it. That is what hurts to me the most. Like, I'm not saying and I'm not minimizing anything that's happened because all of these families that are dealing with um this circumstance of losing loved ones, it doesn't matter what we think about the person. But the thing about it is for negligence to be the main focus, negligence and the fact that they were dealing with black people that they already felt were subhuman, for these guys to go up in there guns blazing and kill this woman, um and have no that like there's no repercussion for it. To me, that is just like it speaks volumes for the country that we're in. And the thing about it is that now in this climate, you have you have so many different things at play right now. You have the hatred for Trump, right? You
Yeah,
have you have you have the COVID thing going on right now. Then you have all of this stuff where now people don't really have the things that they used to have to kind of like the normalcy of the things that people had that kind of like kept the smoke screen over what was going on. So people are way more focused. like laser focused on the events that are happening across the country. And
Absolutely.
that's the reason why it's easier for people to hone in on what's going on around the country.
Because people are fucking bored and they have nothing to do but
Then this
carry this bullshit.
the kid Kyle Rittenhouse, 17 years old. The whole thing, I just read an article. I didn't know that was a call to arms. Uh there was a former alderman that put
Alderman.
on
What the fuck
yeah,
is an alderman?
it's a politician. I think they're like
You got to give me a list of these big words before you use them because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about sometimes.
we don't have aldermans here. That's why you don't know what an alderman is.
Yo, we're at an hour and 3. I just looked at the time. We're
Yeah,
at an
but
hour and
we're
18
plugged in
minutes.
though. We're plugged in. We don't care. You see what I'm
I
saying?
care. I care because I don't want to shoot my whole load on this episode here. And I have to go.
Oh, that's right. You have to go hang out with Daddy today.
I have to go to my father-in-law's house.
Yeah, hang out with Daddy.
And I have to wash my balls. Much important ball stink going on.
Uh-huh.
And I have to fucking...
You know this is going to be a long episode.
It's an hour and 20 minutes already. This is the longest
'cause
episode we've already
I
done.
just thought about it. We already have like the Zencaster cut from before.
I know. That's why I'm stopping you now.
Oh, okay.
And I'm telling you that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 28 of the Prime Podcast. If you're interested in the things we talk about on this podcast, well, that's great, and we love you. Okay? Thank you. Goodbye.
Peace.